operation is supposed to be the area that does the most. That isn't always the case. That's why we have organizations like Upstate Warrior Solutions with Charlie Hall was here in the back, and then with Jeff and Dave setting up this transition house. Different elements in order to support veterans. I was raised in northern Indiana, but I grew up in a place called South Vietnam. I had just turned 18 years old when I walked through my first rice paddy. I had my 19th birthday just prior to departing Vietnam. I have post-traumatic stress from my time in Vietnam. So, who understands the issues that veterans face more than other veterans? You can't explain what goes on in a warrior culture to someone who has never walked in those shoes. That's extremely difficult. That's why it's important to this organization that what they are doing is veteran to veteran and working on the issues that they understand. Fellow Countrymen is a faith-based organization that's going to provide assistance where it's needed. But who is Jordan Hartner? What is in that name? Jordan is amazingly woven into the lives of so many. The organization that his mother supports does a lot for veterans' causes. But what did Jordan do? Our Secretary of Homeland Security, General Kelly, was also the commander of those forces in Iraq at this same time. And he wrote a little essay about what happened in 6 seconds. So I've got a brief excerpt from that I'd like to read. And this is his words. 2 years ago, when I was commander of all U.S. and Iraqi forces, the 22nd of April, 2008, 2 Marine Infantry Battalions, 1-9, the Walking Dead, and 2-8 were deployed, switching out in Ramadi. 1 battalion in the closing days of its deployment, going home very soon, and the other one just arriving. 2 Marines, Corporal Jonathan Hale and Lance Corporal Jordan Hartner, 1 from each battalion, were assuming the watch together at the entrance of the gate of an outpost that contained a makeshift barracks housing 50 Marines. I traveled to Ramadi the next day and spoke individually to a half dozen Iraqi policemen, all of whom told me the same story. The blue truck turned into an alley and immediately sped up as it made its way through the Serpentine. They all said we knew immediately what was going on as soon as the 2 Marines began firing. The Iraqi police then related that some of them also fired, and then to a man ran for the safety just prior to the explosion. All survived. Many were injured, some seriously. One of the Iraqis elaborated with tears welling up. They'd run like any normal man would to save his own life. What he didn't know until then, he said, and what he learned that very instant, was that Marines are not normal. Choking past the emotion, he said, "Sir, in the name of God, no sane man would have stood there and done what they did. No sane man. They saved us all." What we didn't know at the time, and only learned a couple of days later, after I wrote a summary and submitted both Yale and Hartner for posthumous Navy Crosses, was that one of our security cameras, damaged initially in the blast, recorded some of the suicide attack. It happened exactly as the Iraqis had described it. It took exactly 6 seconds from when the truck entered the alley until it detonated. Putting myself in their heads, I suppose it took about a second for the two Marines to separately come to the same conclusion about what was going on once that truck came into their view at the far end of the alley. Exactly no time to talk it over or call the sergeant to ask what they should do, only enough time to take half an instant to think about what the sergeant had told them minutes before. Let no unauthorized personnel or vehicle pass. The two Marines had 5 seconds left to live. It took maybe another 2 seconds for them to present their weapons, take aim, and open up. By this time, the truck was halfway through the barriers, gaining speed the whole time. Here the recording shows a number of Iraqi police, some of whom fired their AKs, now scattering like the normal and rational men they were, some running right past the Marines. They had 3 seconds left to live. For about 2 seconds more, the recording shows the Marines' weapons firing non-stop. The truck's windshield exploding into shards of glass as their rounds take it apart and tore into the body of that truck driver who is trying to get past them to kill their brothers, American and Iraqi, bedded down in the barracks, totally unaware of the fact that their lives at that moment depended entirely on two Marines standing their ground. If they had been aware, they would have known they were safe, because two Marines stood between them and a crazed suicide bomber. The recording shows the truck careening to a stop immediately in front of these two Marines. In all of the instantaneous violence, Yale and Hartner never hesitated. By all reports and by the recording, they never stepped back. They never even started to step aside. They never even shifted their weight. With their feet spread shoulder-width apart, they leaned into the danger, firing as fast as they could work their weapons. They had only 1 second left to live. The truck explodes. The camera goes blank, and the two young men go to their God. 6 seconds. Not enough time to think about their families, their country, their flag, or about their lives or their death. But more than enough time for two very brave young men to do their duty into eternity. That is the kind of people who are on watch all over the world tonight for you. That is why fellow countrymen wants to make a difference. That is why Jordan's name is attached to this home. Like Jordan, they will never step aside of our duty to care for veterans. Veterans understand veterans. Thank you.